This is Forever United TV. Welcome along, everybody. I'm Adam. Earlier on today, I covered a story around Manchester United's financial situation. The second quarterly figures out for this financial year. Pretty damning for Manchester United. So you look into what's going on. You look about and look into articles, read into stories about Manchester United, about what INEOS's plans are and what they might be doing. I delved a little bit deeper, and I want to read through an article with you today about INEOS's current situation elsewhere, not just in the sporting side of things, but in other business ventures and what is actually going on. A great report from the New York Times in conjunction with The Athletic, who work alongside each other, and they have gone into depth on INEOS's current situation. I touched on this, I think, earlier this morning. I think it might have been yesterday, with all of INEOS's other sporting ventures that are going on right now and what's actually happening and where each of them ventures are at stage-wise, and some pretty damning comments along the way with them also. I'm going to read through most of this article. We'll discuss it amongst ourselves with the live chat right now, and we'll decide between ourselves whether or not this is a good sign for Manchester United, because some people may listen to this and what I'm going to say in today's show and think, actually, that might actually benefit Manchester United. Some will say it's a massive red flag and a big concern. So let's get into all of that. Keep your comments coming in along the way. Thank you, everybody who has sent the well wishes on earlier. I am feeling a lot better now. The voice is pretty much near enough back. I'm going to try and still keep it under control as much as I can. We are live right after this show for all the Champions League and Premier League action. Liverpool against Aston Villa. That is coming up live on Football Talk straight after this show, along with all of tonight's Champions League action as we watch Manchester City crash out against Real Madrid later on. All good. But for United, we've got our own issues. We've got our own problems right now. And it is getting... let's read it. Let's go through this report and actually, you tell me. You decide whether you think that this is actually a big problem. But the story and the actual headline tells you everything. Is INEOS starting to fall out of love with sport? Now, straight away, the headline tells you everything. So I'm just going to read through bits of this and get your comments in on everything that's happening and everything that's actually going on right now with Manchester United. But let's get into everything and let's get into the nitty-gritty of all of the headlines and what I think are issues. But you tell me. So Jim Ratcliffe had already taken on New Zealand once and lost. That's the opening line, which tells you everything. October's American Cup was a galling experience for the billionaire businessman. The Radcliffe-funded INEOS Britannia team reached the final of sailing's oldest race against the Emirates team in New Zealand, hoping to become the first British team to win the trophy. Instead, they were pummeled 7-2. This week, New Zealand Rugby, the governing body of the three-time World Cup winning All Blacks and six-time world champions Black Ferns, signalled its intention to take INEOS to court. Both were significant moments, but while the first was simply a sporting setback, albeit a chastising one, it was the second that posed more intriguing questions about the long-term future of INEOS's sporting portfolio. In 2021, INEOS signed a £22 million, $27 million sponsorship deal to become New Zealand's official performance partner. It was a sign that the petrochemical firm formerly known as the largest company you have ever heard of had become ambitious, and that was before it had even invested in Manchester United, one of the world's biggest football clubs. Looking good. Manchester United, New Zealand, everything else that we knew about going on, but it goes on and it gets, I think, is a bit choppier as it goes on. INEOS did not hold any sporting control of New Zealand Rugby League, as in NZR, that's what they're abbreviating it as, with its Director of Sports, David Brailsford, instead speaking of collaborating on performance innovation. Later, he boldly added that the All Blacks, the most successful team in rugby union history and one of the planet's best-known sporting brands, would be the ones to integrate into INEOS rather than the other way round. Yes, full of themselves and bigging themselves up straight away in this. I'm feeling very confident. This was obviously at the start, but things have got what seems to me a little bit worse. The deal has not worked out. New Zealand Rugby is disappointed that INEOS has breached its sponsorship agreement. The organisation said in a punchy statement originally released by the Daily Telegraph on Monday. Most recently, INEOS failed to pay their first instalment of the 2025 sponsorship fee, confirming its decision to exit our 6-year agreement. Now, having learned INEOS' decision to walk away from 3 years earlier, we have moved to protect the interest of New Zealand Rugby and the wider game. We have been left with no option but to launch legal proceedings to protect our commercial position. That's pretty much the New Zealand side of things and what's going on. We did touch on that the other day. But to add to that, 2 weeks ago, INEOS released its plans for the next edition of the America's Cup. It had previously blown other investors out of the water in a bid to be sole funders of the British effort, helmed by Ben Ainslie. So that Ben Ainslie, the sailor who has won 4 gold medals at the Olympic Games. Now is it going alone without the long-time skipper Ainslie, reacted by threatening significant legal action. So that's New Zealand with legal action against INEOS. Ben Ainslie, Olympic gold medalist and super sailist, now threatening legal action against INEOS as well. The split between Ainslie and INEOS didn't get made public. INEOS merely stating it had not found an agreement in terms to move forward. Then on to the cycling side of things. In cycling, the most well-known INEOS sporting investment before Manchester United, questions have been raised about the long-term commitment. Standards have slipped since their peak of the 2010s, and the squad lacks elite talent. Get this, check this out, and see me if you think this sounds similar. The team's SEO, John Albert, publicly stated that INEOS does not want to spend more money, with the team actively looking for a new co-title sponsor to relieve the burden. It has led to comments wondering whether INEOS has simply lost interest. Radcliffe is tired of his toy, John Brunneil says, the tactical mastermind behind Lance Armstrong's success. They've mainly recruited young talents. This is what he was saying. You also see it in the riders they're recruiting. They've mainly recruited young talents and haven't signed any expensive contracts. I see it as the beginning of the end. Now, obviously, you look at INEOS, you look at cycling, you look at a completely different sport to what football is. They know what they're doing in cycling, or they did do, but that seems to be like a little bit of a common trend. It seems to be a not investing too much money, not looking at the bigger picture in terms of making them elite. They want to make Manchester United competitive. They want to make Manchester United profitable. Which one comes first? I don't think Manchester United are profitable until Manchester United are competitive. That's how I see it. But just the stories there, like legal issues in the sailing side of things, legal issues in the rugby union. We had Formula One Mercedes come out publicly on Sky Sports talking about the rumours that they are looking to buy out the third worth of share that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has in Mercedes Formula One as well. They have kiboshed that and said everything is okay, but you never know, no smoke without fire. And with issues in the cycling, the sailing, and rugby union sponsorship now, it has led to this whole article coming out from the New York Times around INEOS and them saying, have they actually fell out of love? Now, there's a few ways we can look at this. We could look at this and say, look, all the financial figures today were Manchester United, all of the damning financial figures. I had someone today who messaged me who is, let's just say, knows a lot, but he's staying quiet at the moment. Let's just say that. And he says he thinks it's a massive cover-up. His opinion is that INEOS are there to protect the Glazers. Now, we've said this before, and obviously everybody knows that I have been very open and balanced with my views. I like what INEOS have done with the structure. I'm not going to argue with that. I like the prospect of youth. I like the way they've gone down the road of capping the contract side of things, not overspending. This is the problem that we've had before. And it's all right for Manchester United. It really is. But I just don't feel like we have had the right recruitment. I think spending that money, if we'd have recruited right, we would have had an elite football team right now. That's the problem we've got. But INEOS's plan, If they're in control of the sporting operations of Manchester United, which they are, they're the ones that are hiring and firing. And there is more in the article about other businesses as well, which is really, really bad. In fact, just before we get into the whole breakdown, everyone giving their opinions as well, listen to this one. It's not just the sport. Rollbacks are being made in Radcliffe's businesses too. At the Grandmouth oil refinery, run as a joint venture with Petro China as Petro INEOS, redundancy letters have been sent out to around 450 staff members last week against the wishes of both politicians and unions. INEOS say the decision was necessary due to market conditions, with the facility set to become fuel imports terminal with just 65 workers expected to stay on. The oil refinery was Scotland's last facility of its type. And they're going in again, and you would have heard this before, in terms of what Sir Jim Ratcliffe was saying. He's been talking about everything going on, deindustrialisation, and everything that's happening right now. Separately, Sky Sports reported last week that Radcliffe is planning the sale of INEOS Hygienics, which was set up during COVID-19 pandemic, to distribute hand sanitizers. Well, 4 months ago, INEOS Automotive stated that it had temporarily stopped manufacturing its Grenadier SUVs and Quartermaster pickup trucks, citing a lack of crucial components. Production has only just resumed last month. The pattern is clear. A slowing down of or outright cutting of investment in what had been flagship businesses. Cost cutting across the board in every aspect of INEOS's business model. On Wednesday, the INEOS Group received a further blow when leading agencies Fitch Ratings and Moody's downgraded their credit rating to negative, citing mounting debts of almost $12 billion, £12 million, over 5 times larger than INEOS's annual earnings. There is an irony to Radcliffe becoming embroiled in a dispute with the All Blacks when so many of his businesses are in the red. That basically, there's a lot more to go into. What I won't bore you with the rest. Just to put you in the picture of where INEOS stand right now, Manchester United in the in the red themselves. We talked about it earlier on. Manchester United, £731 million in debt. How are INEOS getting us out of this? How are INEOS going to change things? They're going to cost cut. The plan is there. It's clear. Now, what I wanted to say and what I said at the start was that you could see this as a good thing or a bad thing. Is it a bad model? And all of these other sporting ventures that INEOS have got, are they an example of what is going to happen to Manchester United? Is that what is going to happen? Or are INEOS saving every single penny they've got to maybe invest into Manchester United? Which way is it going? That's the question I wanted to ask you. Do you feel like this is an issue for us as United fans, or an issue for INEOS on their side of it? I mean, when we look at it right now, I don't see how, with PSR, like we've explained from the United side, I don't see how INEOS can turn this around for Manchester United with Manchester United's finances. They're looking to try and support Manchester United from within. They have bought in, and I don't see where the gain is for INEOS in all of this. I don't see how INEOS get anything out of it. I'm struggling. I'm looking and I'm reading them reports, and I'm going a little bit deeper into things like this. The Ben Ainsley one, that's a strange one. The New Zealand one, cutting the cycling side of things, cutting all investment out of everything. Job cuts at petrochemicals firms, job cuts in Scotland, job cuts at Manchester United. It does seem to be the INEOS way of doing things. And while the structure is great and everything in place looks good, and investment has come in from Manchester United, honestly, I do feel like because of the way the INEOS run, they don't care who they're going to chop down, which is why I think the team have given up, because I think, I've said this before, I think they already know they're out the door. I think half of this squad know that INEOS and the new Manchester United structure is going to cut everything they possibly can to try and make Manchester United sufficient, because there's no more investment coming in. Like, Sir Jim Ratcliffe has got liquid assets. He has got cash. It is there in reports. But he's not going to spend a penny more on Manchester United. He isn't. You can see how he runs his businesses. It's cutthroat. They're cutting sponsorship deals off before they've even started. So what are they going to do with Manchester United? They're trying to make their product look appealing to extra investment coming in. That's how they're going to do it. And where this might have worked before, I just feel like Manchester United, and I do believe that they have shit the bed. I do believe that they've come in and they've gone, oh my God, like, what is this? This was supposed to be the greatest team in the history of the game. So Jim Ratcliffe's first interview when he came out and he said, look, we need to knock Manchester City and Liverpool off their perch. The United fans won't wait for years, they'll get bored. You need the best in class, the best structure. And in his first year, he did all of the balls up that I was talking about in the video earlier on. I'm not going to go over it all again, but you know what I mean. The Dan Ashworth, the Ten Hag, the spending in the summer on the players, the compensation, the not getting Ruben Amorim in the summer, everything, and all of the decisions they made in the first summer on the sporting side of things for Manchester United have come back and slapped them in the face. And it's been a big fail. One big L on INEOS' first summer in charge of Manchester United, where the deals were good on the players, didn't overspend, didn't overpay on wages, very good contracts that you can sell players on again, no problem at all with that, and I've said that, and that's my balanced argument on it. Some of the things that they have done, I've been impressed with. The more and more I read, the more and more I worry about the future, because the Glazers, like I said earlier on, and this was my statement from earlier on, the Glazers have purchased Manchester United, and it's cost Manchester United £1 billion. That's the reality. So someone's come in, bought United, and it's cost the club £1 billion. That's the Glazer side of things. And INEOS and their mess and what they're carrying, which I've just described then, and all of the other businesses and other sporting ventures that they've got going on, that's coming into the mix as well. Because he's passed this over to INEOS. He's changed all of his shares over into the INEOS name right now. So it's actually owned by INEOS. It's not Sir Jim Ratcliffe, it's INEOS. So that side of things is coming in, and the mess that's coming from there. And then you've got the Glazers. You've got both of them coming together. I mean, a football structure on its own is not going to be good enough for that. It needs significant money involved in this for Man United to survive. We are not going to generate that money on our own. We're not going to generate any situation that benefits Manchester United from within the club, I don't think. Unless you completely wipe the board clean and accept that you are not going to be challenging. But INEOS have come out and said that we'll win the league in 2028. I think they're going to look like complete fools. I still cannot believe, for the love of me, why they have come out with that statement. I still cannot believe they've said that. But anyway, I'm going to get into your comments and all of this now, and then we'll move on to the other news regarding situations with leaks and whatnot with Manchester United. That's all coming up. First of all, super chat in from Reese, super chats. Thank you, mates. Really appreciate that. Glazers out 100%, but I'm appealing to the post. I'm appealing to posters not to descend up into anatomization. I'm old enough to remember when Roman Abramovich invested so heavily into Chelsea. He was accused of trying to buy success. He's also Jewish. I mean, anti-Semitism. It's not going down that road, mate. I don't think it is. Thanks for the super chat. And sorry I didn't say that right there. I have my dyslexia kicked in a tad there on that one there, mate. But thank you for the super chat. I see what you're saying. I don't think it's going to go down the road. I think right now Manchester United and the fans really are at a point where it's just they see the end more than they see a future. That's what it is right now. There's a million cracks in Manchester United, and they're not just cracks. They're gaping hairline, gaping bloody craters. That's what Manchester United is right now. I don't know how we fix it, is what I'm saying. I don't see how INEOS, unless they want to invest more money, in which I know they won't do because it's basically handing the Glazers more money for nothing. I don't see how they do it. I understand the leverage of Manchester United's new stadium and the surrounding areas and everything like that, and that is a money spinner for Manchester United. It really is. But I don't see how United survive in the meantime. That's 3/4 of a decade away. 7 or 8 years away before we see a new stadium. Infrastructure around. It's just too complicated for Manchester United. If you had big, rich owners, they could invest in the infrastructure. They could invest in the surrounding areas like City's owners did. It would speed along the process. It's not going to happen with INEOS and the Glazers. It's not. To-ing and fro-ing, back and forth, negotiating with councils, negotiating with the government, negotiating between the Glazers and INEOS. Who is going to be the developers? Who is going to have the naming rights? Who are the investors going to be into buying this new stadium and funding it? There is a long, long road to go down before we get anywhere near this new shiny stadium that we're supposedly getting under INEOS. And I don't know how we survive in the meantime. That's the problem we've got. That is because we're not going to be able to lift that trophy like they think we are going to in 2028. We're a million miles away. And quite clearly, them financial figures that came out today have shown us how far behind we are in terms of where we need to be to really be competing at the top table. Without Champions League football, Manchester United are nothing. Manchester United are dead. And I don't see how, excuse me, I don't see how INEOS on their own turn it around, because that's what it is. It's INEOS on their own, because you're not going to get anything from the Glazers. We know that. We've had 2 decades of it. Yvonne, who has just become a 15-month member, absolute legend. INEOS are going out of business. They are even cutting out of F1. Beware Manchester United. I just read through that report there of a lot of stuff that's going on with INEOS. Jim also said in his first MUTV interview, it will take 3 years to overhaul the squad. You would say 3 years to overhaul it, but what does overhaul mean? Get rid of everyone? He also said 3 years to lift the title. That's the worrying one, because that's not going to happen. I can understand 3 years of overhauling the squad, but that would be, I think, overhaul has to mean everyone out, because there's no one coming in of significance. It's going to be brought from within, I feel, at Manchester United. That's where we're at with it. I just don't see how Manchester United can afford to overhaul it in terms of players coming in and players going out. There's not a chance. Yusuf with the super chat as well. Is it true we're 2 billion in debt? No, we're not. We're 731 million, and we owe 300 million in transfers right now, outstanding transfers. So in terms of money Manchester United owe or in debt with, billion, yep, but obviously we've got day-to-day running costs with the 300 million. I think United are just balancing that at the moment. That's just going through the books, and we do have obviously money coming in ourselves from players as well. So they're there. Like, we do owe 300 million, that's a fact. We are 731 million in debt, and the other issue is we have paid now over $1 billion in interest payments to fund the sale of Manchester United to the Glazers. And that's what I was saying before. The Glazers taking over has cost the Glazers nothing, but cost the club $1 billion in interest, and God knows how many years now of production, and how many years it's put us behind everybody else. That's where we're at in terms of the debt right now. In terms of time and years, massive. In terms of money, huge. In terms of embarrassment, I think unlimited, because nobody can understand how the Glazers were allowed to take what they did from Manchester United and purchase United the way they did. Unfortunately for us, we are the pin-up, we are the benchmark, we are the reason why nobody will ever be able to buy a football club the way they did, the way the Glazers did. Nobody will ever be able to do it again. The new rules have been put in place because of the way that the Glazers bought United and the deterioration of this football club. Because whichever way you look at it right now, on or off the pitch, Manchester United are going in one direction, and that's over the cliff and out of everything. There's no way back from it. Them finances only get cured if you sell everybody in the squad. That's it. That's the only way. We have to start being self-sufficient again. And I understand that's the side that INEOS are trying to bring in, but it's a long way away. it's definitely into the 2030s for me before Manchester United ever get back. That's just my honest sort of look on things right now. Red Baron says it has nothing to do with being Jewish. It has everything to do with billionaires taking advantage of working class. Now, like I said before, INEOS and Manchester United have opened up a new membership scheme as well. Andy Tate messaged me before saying he sent me a screenshot actually of what's actually happening right now with Manchester United. In fact, I'll just read it out actually what Andy actually said, what actually Andy sent to me and what's happening with the membership scheme at the moment. So the latest setup in memberships is Manchester United, this is their website. We've simplified memberships for the 2025-26 season to make it even more straightforward for you to be a part of the largest official membership scheme in world sport. Over 480,000 of you created a community of shared experience and love for the club in 2024-25. Don't miss a moment of the action in 25-26. Official membership price for 2024-25 members who are renewing for the 25-26 will pay £37.50. Price will automatically update in the basket. If you are joining us for the first time, the £45 cost includes access to the 24-25 match tickets and will reduce to £37.50 on Monday the 7th of April. Merchandise packs. Every premium and under 16 member will receive a merchandise pack. Official members over the age of 16 can choose whether to include the pack with their membership at the point of sale. We're still finalising our exclusive merchandise for the 25-26 season and are excited to share updates here in the coming months. So basically, they're trying to get more members in now at the end of this season, just to try and get a little bit more revenue in before they start taking on the new membership. So you can buy in right now for an extra price, a little bit more, of £45, and still be in the pot for the games this season, whether there'll be any preferential treatment at all. So when you think about it for membership games and what's left of the coming season, I think United are looking at this right now and going, well, they stopped, obviously, other memberships coming in. Now they've opened it up for the rest of the season. You can buy them in, and you can buy them in and actually look at being a member for Manchester United for the rest of these games this season, which I think we've got about 7, I think, left in at home. And that, for me, is just a little cheap way of making a little bit more money from Manchester United. It will revert back to the original price next season, but you can pay a little bit more for the rest of this season. So again, it's not another little way of getting a little bit more in from INEOS. And you know what? They're trying to do everything they possibly can to get as much in as possible. I get it. They're trying to balance the books, cut costs and everything like that. And you could say that that's not even a big... It's not really a big sort of change or anything. But still, it just looks like we are... It's not the penny pinching isn't the right word. It just doesn't feel like United. That's the problem I've got with it. It doesn't feel like Manchester United anymore. It feels like the soul has been ripped out of the football club right now, and nothing is actually nothing is worth getting excited about anymore. That's how it feels, I think, more than anything. Let's get into a few more of your comments on all of this going on. We have gone on for quite a bit there with everything. There's a lot to talk about with this subject when you go in deep on it. There really is. Well over 1,200 in the room with us as well. Thank you everybody for joining us on the show. Make sure you give the video a like. Don't forget we are flying straight across to Football Talks after this show as well. We're going to be covering the Premier League and the Champions League games tonight live on Football Talks. So join us then for all the live action and get involved in the chat there as well. Please do subscribe to Football Talks as well. Where are the INEOS fans? They were so vocal last year. Look, last year you didn't know what was happening. Last year you seen someone else coming in who was willing to put a proper structure in place. And everybody who was, it was optimistic more than excited. Look, if Sheikh Jassim bid was real, the Glazers ignored it. If his bid was genuine, the Glazers were never going to accept it because they lost their power. I think what they've done, they've leveraged Sheikh Jassim off INEOS and got a better deal for them. Excuse me. And that, I think, that's how it's all worked out. That's how it's all panned out in the end, isn't it? INEOS have got good intentions in terms of taking United back. It's the first time that anyone's come in at any sort of senior level at his football club and taught football, and it's great. He's fronted up to the fans. He's met with the fans. He's done interviews. He's done a lot more than the Glazers have done. Is he doing it for the Glazers? That's the big question right now. And I've said, look, I will give INEOS 3 years and see where we're at. And we're already through the first year, and I'm starting to see worrying signs. And that goes for everyone at Manchester United. When you look at it, everyone deserves at least a couple of years to make their mark. Like we've said about Ruben Amorim, we've said it with the players. I think it goes with the ownership as well. Like, what are you putting in place? At the moment, you've put a football structure in place and you are hard negotiators. They're the only positives. And that's why a lot of people got carried away with my view on INEOS in the transfer window. I didn't have a problem in not bringing players in January. And that was my stance. It wasn't me backing INEOS. I wasn't fanboying INEOS. I was saying, look, I'd rather wait and spend the money in the summer. Now, everything has moved on, and it doesn't look like Manchester United are going to be spending any money at all right now unless we sell players. And I think we've all wanted a lot of these players out of the door anyway. So the way it's worked, it may work out in our favour that we do get rid of the players and we do get some more players coming in at the same time. But everything else with INEOS, I've been there and I've been right against it. You know what it was like when ticket prices came in. I thought that was a stupid move too soon. And I read all the stories that we just spoke about then a moment ago. All of the cost cutting and all of the other businesses. Maybe it could be because they're looking to invest more into Manchester United. But then I counter that by saying INEOS will not invest any more into this football club with the ownership of the Glazers there next to him, i.e. the Glazers still have the majority share. So if INEOS want to invest any more money, they're going to want more power. And that ultimately is the issue that we've got. I could see INEOS wanting to bring more money into Manchester United, but they're not going to. They're not going to. And PSR has completely scuppered the plans for anything that they had going into the summer. Because now that has gone out the window. And I think it's changed everything. It's changed the whole outlook for Manchester United. Let's get this straight. The Glazers didn't buy United. They're using the club to buy itself. That 700 million debt is theirs. Yes, it is theirs. But it's Manchester United's too, because the owners of the club are the Glazers. Sadly, that's what we're stuck with. Sadly, that is the reality right now for Manchester United fans, and it's not going to change anytime soon. I'm not bursting any bubbles. I'm not saying protests don't work, but they don't. Protests are good. They bring the fan base together. They make a point. They make a statement. But it's never going to scare the Glazers away. They're always going to be there, and they're always going to be taking their money out. And Manchester United have suffered for years with it, unfortunately. And it's us fans that are the ones that are going to pay the ultimate price. We are a laughingstock right now. And I don't think it is going to change. It really won't. Tickets should be frozen for this year, but have a notice of the free and plus RPI from following seasons, like everything else. Look, they went up last season. The end of last season, they went up for the first time. And that was the first significant move in terms of season tickets anyway. Prices have been going up at Old Trafford every single year. We know it. Merchandise, food, everything has been going up. Certain tickets, normal tickets, have gone up in prices. 10% rises here and there everywhere. But significantly, the season tickets haven't moved that drastically for a long, long time under the Glazers. INEOS have come in and they're moving. And that's what fans will look at. They have basically taken all of the hate. And now everyone's hate for the Glazers is always going to be there. But they've been silent partners. They've been that silent but deadly, aren't they? That's what the Glazers have been. They have been there doing their damage in the background. INEOS have come in and are fronting this and are standing there in the stands every single week watching Old Trafford die, watching Old Trafford crumble because of what they're doing. And I mean that not in terms of setting new standards, but they're taking the life out of Manchester United in what they're doing. That's the issue that the fan base has got. And the fans will always look at the immediate danger. And what they see, and a lot of the people in and around matchday fans see as the danger right now, is INEOS. The Glazers are always there, we know this. But now there's a new enemy in here as well. That's how a lot of the Manchester United fan base is seeing this. And that's what we have to put up with. Ticket prices and things like that. It's a bit of a shit show. It really is. And again, going back to what we said at the top of the show, I don't see how INEOS get around it. I don't see how they can make a change that's going to convince anyone in this fan base right now. I don't. Like I've said it many times before, selling certain players and making these players suffer a little bit as well in getting rid of the prima donna players, the big contracts. Getting rid of these players will go a little bit of a way, but we're that far behind. It's impossible to see any light at the end of the tunnel, which is why everybody started to look at the Sheikh Jassim thing again, the debt-free bid. All of the debt gone. And I said earlier on today, there are rumours going around that he's just lingering around in the background waiting for Manchester United to become available again. He doesn't want any other club. He's still waiting for United. He would even work with INEOS and buy the Glazers out. The whole push from Qatar was to get the Glazers out of Manchester United, but they approached it the wrong way. INEOS looked at it on the business side of things and went, we have to sort of appease to the selling club, to the sellers of the business, more than go against them. Whereas Qataris have got the fan side, INEOS obviously work in a bit of a different way. They work as a business and not someone who's just going to come in with absolute fortunes and just buy it straight out. Unfortunately, right now for United, we're just getting it from both ends. And we will. I don't know when we'll come back. I don't know how far we will come back. I mean, coming back right now, what is coming back for Manchester United now? We've been that far away from winning a league for so long. I don't know what improvement is anymore in the fans' eyes. There's a new generation of fan come through now that will accept United just challenging in and around top 8. And that's what people have been telling me, like getting back up there. That's how far back we've fallen. 300 million loss in the 3 financial fair play seasons means that we are miles over financial fair play of 105 million loss. We'll get points deduction for being over financial fair play if INEOS can't balance the books. We are balancing the books, and I think we are safe for this one because we have cut quite a bit out. Let's not forget, the loss of 300 million has been countered by investment from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and that was another big part of it as well. Without the investment of Sir Jim Ratcliffe and that coming straight in at Manchester United, which was why the Glazers did sell that little piece of the pie, without that, Manchester United wouldn't have made financial fair play PSR guidelines. We would have been over. And going into next season again, like honestly, Ruben Amorim, we're not mentioned him once in this video really, have we? But wow, what a job he has got on his hands. But yeah, that is where we are. Manchester United have clamped down significantly in other news as well on the leaks coming out of the football club. The Daily Mail were reporting this earlier on, saying even one of the so-called leaks is now lying low because Manchester United have clamped down significantly on any leaks coming out. Apparently Ruben Amorim blew his top at the leaks and everything that was going on in and around Manchester United. I'm not surprised. You would do, wouldn't you? You're coming into one of the so-called biggest clubs and biggest establishments in the world of football, and you've got people leaking team news out and your plans and what's happening at Carrington. It's embarrassing. Marcus Ericsson, welcome to the members club, my friend. That was gifted by London, a legend. Certainly not winning the league by 2028. That's for certain. Wait for 3 years' time. They'll be selling Chido Obi for profit. United Spotlight. That's all right. Then I was worried we would get a doc. No, in terms of the financial fair play situation and PSR, I think United are under it because of the investment. Now, there is a certain amount of debt within PSR rules that can be countered by investment from the ownership. There's a certain amount of money that the owner of the football club can invest himself to balance PSR. The problem United have always had is the Glazers have never put a penny in. So when PSR came in with just the Glazers, it was impossible for Manchester United. And that's why INEOS have come in now. They're the first ownership ever at Manchester United to put anything into the football club. The first ownership ever to put any of their own money in. And that's how we've balanced our PSR books. Without the investment, we'd have been screwed. And we'd have been getting a points deduction as well. It would have really felt like the end. But that's it. Now we're done. Now we have to figure a way out of balancing the books ourselves from within. Because there's no more investment. And there's nothing else. There's no shining knight. There's no knight coming running over the hill for Manchester United. There's no one else to bail us out now. This is it. It's cut from within. It's promote from within. Produce from within. Or you just die. That's what it is now, Manchester United. Probably too strong a word, but it feels like that. It feels like the club is slowly dying a slow death right now. But unless United can balance the books themselves, yeah, we're done. That's it. So it is going to be a title summer. And you may find that it is players that really don't really inspire you or won't get you on the edge of your seat in terms of transfers and big, shiny transfer news coming in. We will see, won't we? We will see. Adam, if INEOS never came, if INEOS never came in, we could have got relegated and possibly got rid of the Glazers. Yeah, if we got relegated, I could see the Glazers selling up. I could at a cheaper price, cutting the losses. Might have happened. Could we have taken relegation? Could this football club have taken relegation? Well, we definitely would have got rid of all the players because we know for certain that there is no relegation clauses in any of these players' contracts at Manchester United. So that is a definite. Henry Long says, with these players knowing they have no future at the club, why should they bother? They can go and lose all the rest of the league games, which would risk us getting relegated. You would just... I've said this before, Henry. We are in the realms of hope with these players that they do actually... that they do play to their contracts. They do play to their professional status. That's it. But we've seen over the weeks now that they really haven't got it in them. And they do look like they've down tools and they do look like they've given up. I think they have been given the right... I think INEOS have come in and tried to do too much too soon just to sum it all up. Because we have to move across to the football later on. And move over to football talks. I think they've tried to come in, stamp their authority, had good intentions, but they've tried to do too much too soon. I don't think they realised that upsetting the Player Power FC side of things was going to have this much of an effect, but it has. I think they thought they were coming in, and they were coming into Manchester United that they thought was easily able to be turned around. I don't think they have looked deep enough into the problems at Manchester United over the last 10 years and what the Glazers and their ownership have done and how far behind we are. And I think they're realising now, over a year in, that they're up against their biggest challenge ever. And that is where I start to get concerned. That's where, in me reading that story and that article at the top of this show, from everything else at INEOS own right now, going down the Swanee, and that's what it looks like, most of their business is in the red, in the debt. All the sporting ventures they're taking their funding away from. We know that it could possibly be Formula One, although Mercedes have backed out on that and said that no, that isn't the case. It's definitely happening in the sailing. It's definitely happening in the cycling. It's 100% happening with the rugby union side of things and the sponsorship there. They're cutting costs in their businesses. They're cutting jobs in other businesses. They're cutting jobs at Manchester United. They're cutting across the whole INEOS model right now. And they will not invest one more penny into Manchester United. They have got themselves in and they are going to run United the way that they know best as a business and as what they've learned from these sporting ventures that they have got. Unfortunately for us, them successes in the sporting side of things were a long time ago. We'd have thought and hoped that they would have learnt from it. But at the moment, I'm seeing red flags. I am. I like what they're doing. I like the fact that we've got Ruben in. I like the structure in place, like I've said. I don't see how we get the most out of it if we haven't got more investment. No, and that ultimately is where we're going to fall down. Not to be the voice of doom and gloom. Not to want to put everybody off. But please do hit the subscribe button. Please do give the video a like, and I will see you all over on Football Talks in just a moment's time. Thank you everybody for joining us on the show. And yeah, let's go watch City lose to Real Madrid and cheer ourselves up. Let's watch Liverpool lose to Villa, hopefully. We're going to concentrate on that one. You're going to be directed across in a moment. But again, thank you everybody for joining us on the show tonight. I will see you over on Football Talks.